Hello, today I'm going to show all of my GD gameplay. If you don't know me, you may be thinking, why is some random bad GP creator doing this? Well, I have a lot of history with gameplay creation, and I feel like it would be interesting to compile it all, especially because I basically quit playing the game at this point. With that out of the way, time to start.
Second drop right now.
You see
care.
Bullseye.